Welcome back. Here we are in Module 2. And in Module 2, we'll deal with Chapter 2, Introducing Windows Server 2022. Now, some of you are probably asking yourself, man, is this whole course going to be the same? This doesn't seem like we're doing much. These first few chapters are just a bunch of reading and getting familiar with the concepts of Windows Server, what it takes to install it, why we would choose one over another, and the actual installation. We start getting into chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, and beyond. It'll get more comprehensive. There'll be virtual labs that you'll deal with. But for now, it's going to be similar to Module 1. Going to have this short, sweet, to the point video about Chapter 2. I've got a few other videos for you relative to the different versions of Windows Server, whether it's 2016, 2019, 2022, differentiating between one and the other. Why would you use one version of 2022 or another? So within the different years, there are also different forms of Windows Server 2022 within a given year. And each one is geared towards a specific task at hand. Now, with that said, each one will have different system requirements. And as the years go by, and it's traditionally about every 2-3 years, as the years go by and they introduce a new version of Windows Server, they will start thinking, and by they, I mean Microsoft, they'll start thinking about when do we stop having to deal with the old stuff. So I've got a video there for you that'll discuss the end of life or the end of service relative to Windows Server versions. So at what point does Microsoft say, we're not supporting this platform anymore? And by not supporting it, that essentially means we're not providing any more updates. And updates are very important to us. Those updates help to keep our system secure. If you let your system run without installing the updates, keeping your system up to date, your system becomes open to breaches. It's almost like leaving doors open on your house. Well, I didn't know that door was sticking open. Well, Microsoft's constantly checking to make sure what's going on with their versions of Microsoft Server and whatever it may be, 2019, 2022. And at some point, they say, look, we're going to stop protecting that system for you. You need to move on to a current version that we do support. So that'll be discussed in one of the videos. As you go read through this, the different editions, whether we're talking about Data Center, Essentials, Hyper-V Server, whatever version of Windows Server we're talking about, you need to have a good understanding of the difference between one and the other, why you would choose one over the other. Always seek out resources outside the course, bring them into the discussions, as I've said previously. Okay. So I'd love to see active conversations relative to the differences between these, why you choose one over the other, the cost differences between them. What's it cost to get one over the other? How big is one compared to another? When I say big, I'm talking about the hardware requirements. How much RAM does one require compared to another? How much CPU can you put in one compared to another? It matters. Okay. Now, compare different versions, whether it's 2016, 2019, and 2022 in one of the videos. The minimum requirements are discussed as well as maximum requirements. Some discussion of Azure and migrating from one to the other. Now, we'll have virtual machines next module. I think it should be module 3. If not 3, it'll for sure be in module 4. And the first one is not going to be that big of a deal. I'll have the virtual machine all set up for you. You'll log into it, go in, explore, perform some tasks, grab screenshots, and then I'll have you provide screenshots in Canvas. I'm still working out the ins and outs to that aspect of it, but I'll clearly give you instructions in where to grab screenshots and what they need to look like. Now, you'll also need to, and I'll talk more about this later, have your name in the image so that there's no sharing of the image from one student to another, because you're all performing the same task, but I want your machine to look different than the others, so you'll provide a modification, and like I said, I'll talk about that moving ahead. All right, so this will be another fairly easy week, and from there I will see you in module 3. Now before I go, one of the things I want you to discuss in the discussion is the concept of Dockers and containers. I'm not jumping deep into it at this point. They discuss it here briefly, but I want you to, and this is very important, very cutting edge in the industry. So if you're going into IT, you're going to need to be familiar with Dockers and containers. So I really appreciate seeing some discussion of Dockers and containers in the Module 2 discussion. What resources did you find to support you relative to Dockers and containers? What are they? How does one differ from the other? How do we utilize them? Okay? So these discussions that we're having each module, it's discussions that you come up with. Now I'll give you things that I feel are very important to you and your future career path. This is one of them. Dockers and containers. Kubernetes. Important. Okay? So, if you can bring something back into the discussion, I look forward to seeing it. Now, jump into the next video. Great video, as are the other two that'll follow the next one. I'll see you in Module 3.